How's it going, everyone? In this video, I'm going to go over 3 reasons why using the feedback sandwich method is a bit risky. So the feedback sandwich method, if you haven't heard about it before, is basically this idea of giving feedback sandwiched between two positive or complementary things. And the idea here is that by doing this, you lessen the blow of the feedback. So the question is, does this work? Does it work if I give you a compliment, then say something kind of harsh, give you some feedback, then another compliment? And the answer is that it really depends on how you do it. So let's take a step back and consider why you would want to use this format or what your goal is. And the idea is that you're delivering feedback in a way that softens the blow, right? When people hear feedback they don't like, they either feel attacked or they don't know how to make the improvements, or they feel like your intentions are bad or you're out to get them. So the idea is you want to absolve some of that fear and be able to give them actionable feedback or feedback that will actually be useful to them without, having some sort of emotional outburst. Now the problem here is that it's not just about saying nice things, right? Just saying something nice doesn't guarantee you're going to get rid of any of those fears or that you're going to direct it to them in a way that doesn't feel personalized. So instead of giving some just arbitrary compliments, it really, really matters what you say and how you frame the conversation. So the very simple, basic feedback sandwich looks something like this. Imagine your manager says something like this to you, right? Your shirt looks nice. Also, your performance this year has been terrible, and you made great cookies for the bake-off, right? Like those 3 things have a number of problems because of the way that they've been presented, but they fit this feedback sandwich model, or at least its most basic form. So that's what the point is here, is kind of building out some of the nuance. But here's 3 reasons that that doesn't necessarily work, right? The first thing is, if you talk about, oh, your shirt looks nice, and then you talk about how bad their performance is, it's really easy to see what the true intentions are, right? Your intention was to start the conversation and deliver the negative feedback, and it just comes across feeling fake and kind of random and arbitrary, right? Exactly like you're following this formula for a feedback sandwich as opposed to actually caring about the other person and what it is that they might be concerned about. Now, the second thing is, these compliments don't do anything to dissuade people from feeling attacked and unsupported, right? So you're very likely to get some defensive behavior because you basically not acknowledging those fears at all, right? You're not saying that you value them. You're not saying that you're on their team. You're not saying anything that would make them actually feel better about the feedback at hand. And the last thing is, you're not showing any sign of support or positive intent, right? They still have no idea what it is that you mean or how you feel or where it is that you're trying to go, right? It doesn't show that you value them as a person. Also, when this happens, it can come across very surprising, right? Because the conversation has not been framed in any useful way. So you're basically just, here's something nice. Oh, by the way, here's something completely unrelated that I don't like. And that can be a really jarring transition. So instead, let's look at a conversation or, a set of statements or style that I think makes a lot more sense and is going to be a lot more reliable as opposed to following this really basic nice thing, harsh feedback, nice thing. Imagine that you had, a manager come to you and say something more like, okay, I value your contributions to the team. I think you're a really good team member. We're going to have a conversation that might be a little bit difficult because we need to have this conversation now, but I want you to know that I am on your team, I'm here with you, and I want to make sure that we work together to find a solution. So you move into the second part and say something like, your numbers, your performance are not where we need them to be for someone at your level of seniority. And then you would move into the third part and say something like, I've seen you adjust the feedback before, and I'm really confident that you're going to be able to make these adjustments. I'm also here to help and support you and help you figure out what that path is. So maybe let's start with brainstorming a few ideas that can help you get back on track. So the difference here, and this is still technically, a feedback sandwich where you're giving some sort of support, then giving a harsh feedback, and then giving some other support. The difference here is that you have alleviated or at least tried to target the fears that potentially come with negative feedback. You have made it very clear, okay, look, this is a conversation that's not going to be super fun. You've given it a frame. You're not doing this really fast, really harsh adjustment thing where it's like, you're doing great. Also, you're the worst. And then you're also adding in some pieces of support and saying, like, I'm on the same team. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help figure out a problem. And then you also say, instead of, you're doing really bad, you suck, you're not capable of this, you add some confidence and you also add in pieces of saying, hey, your performance isn't what we need to see. I still value you. Let's work on the performance. That way you can depersonalize it as much as possible. Now, a lot of people are still going to get offended or hurt or feel feelings. That's very natural. But this is a way that you can actually soften the blow. The other type of feedback sandwich with no nuance doesn't really soften anything and can actually come across as not at all genuine and is even more hurtful. So it's really important to focus on the parts which are important, which are basically validating the person and that you care about them and that you want to come up with a solution, as opposed to just these kind of arbitrary, this is nice. Because that's, if you think about it from your position when you're getting feedback, what would you rather hear? Would you rather hear two random compliments and the piece of feedback, or would you rather hear, okay, this is going to be kind of tough. I care about you. I want to get the performance at the right level. It's not where it needs to be right now. Don't worry, we can work on it together. You know, one of those feels way more human. So if you're going to follow this like feedback sandwich type of architecture, think about it a little bit more than just, throwing together a couple nice things that may or may not be related to the feedback at all. So I hope that helps kind of frame your thinking around using this technique and why it can kind of be a problem if you just throw it out there without thinking it through. Let's move on to some reflection questions. 1. Has anyone ever used the feedback sandwich on you? How was that experience? 2. Have you ever used the feedback sandwich on someone else? How was that experience? 3. How can you show more support, teamwork, or positive intent when giving feedback in the future? That's all I've got for this video. So as always, if you have any questions, comments, topics you want me to cover, throw them down in the box below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. And I will see you next time.
You can check out more content at howtohappy.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date on the videos. We've also got a Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook that you can check out. Reflect, take action, and enjoy life. See you next time.